I hope you're well, excited for the session. Before you sit for the next 2 hours, I thought we have our Uzoma, our very own candidate who has recently passed her examination, NCLEX exam, and now has moved to the OSCE stage successfully. So we try to get in, the candidates who have passed so that they can come and motivate you, tell you their strategies, how they studied. We all have similar challenges, isn't it? So it's worthwhile learning from each other's experience. Okay. So I think some of you will already know Uzoma because she might be, you might be in her batch, or some of you, she might be new for you. So before we start, let's have a quick introduction of Uzoma. Uzoma, would you like to introduce yourself, from where you did your nursing? What did you do before you came to Australia?
Okay. Good day, everyone. My name is Uzoma Anthony. I did my RON. I completed my RON studies in 2013 in Nigeria. Then I did my midwifery. I graduated 2015. Then in 2017, I did my BSc in Lautech University, Oyo State, and I completed that in 2020. I just finished my final exam and I gave birth to my first daughter. And I relocated then COVID started. So I was in Nigeria with my first daughter for 2 years before we could see our father, because our father, my husband, my partner, was already in Australia. So we joined him 2022 August. That was when we joined him. Then I took it almost immediately. So you see that my first child, I was going to school, second child, the same thing. And it was actually very, very demanding for me. I started my NCLEX journey in February 2023. Then it was, it seems so strange to me. Everything, when I'm reading, I don't understand, because we don't do this critical thinking thing in Nigeria. We just learn and just, how nursing school is. So it was so difficult for me. And then in our class, our tutor will say, NCLEX is hard. You have to practice. I didn't understand. It took a while for me to understand what NCLEX was all about. Even when I go through the LMS video, answer my questions, my scores are always not encouraging. I always text him to tell her my scores are not encouraging. She'll tell me I'm trying, that I should keep practicing and I'll be better with time. That was how I started. I put to bed. I started understanding everything about NCLEX by June, and I started since February. Though I was always attending the classes. Sometimes they'll bring question up. I don't even know anything about it. I would guess. I might get it right. I might get it wrong. But the good thing about what I did that I think will be helpful for everybody was I wasn't discouraged. Sometimes when I opened Sundays, I had read that page, but I can't even remember anything. I kept on reading. There is no way you can go through something today and go through it next week, go through it another 4 weeks, and it won't stick. So that was what I looked up to, and I kept on reading. I can read a particular system more than 3 times. Even before my exam, when I was revising, I revised because by 2 weeks, I thought, okay, I think I'm ready. Then I was still trying out my mock. I kept on reading this system all over and over again. In my room, I have lab values. I have signs and symptoms that are prominent to disease condition. I have just different things that even if I turn, I can see it. Now, I can't have 3 hours to myself. Like, I have 3 hours to myself, because when my younger daughter is sleeping, the senior one is awake, and I always stand up. It's always distracting, except it's at night when they are sleeping. So you will see me on my reading table every now and then. Now, I'm not saying everybody can do what I did, but that was what worked for me. Then when they give us a task from the LMS, sometimes you see me scoring 40, 50. I think my highest score there was 60 something, but I wasn't discouraged. One thing I know that I did that helped me also was, when I fail a question, even if I get it right, I must go back to the rationale and go through it again. Even if it takes me more than 1 day, because sometimes when we have this 100 question, it can be very lengthy. I will go back to my rationale and read it. If I find something strange that I don't understand, my table is filled with books. I will write it down so that when I want to go through it, I will remember. So if I meet a disease condition that I've not read about or something strange, especially drugs, because I had issues with drugs. But before my exam, I could tell you a group of drugs. I could tell you the mechanism of action. Even when I got a question that I didn't even know, a particular drug I've never even come across, but it was just that morning of my exam that I went through it, which is dipyridamole. I've never heard it while I was reading, but that morning I was going through a YouTube channel and it was mentioned. On getting to the exam hall, that was my second question. And I smiled, I ticked the right answer. So while I was still using EduLogics, it helped me a great deal. I didn't miss my classes. If I have any question, I ask. If I feel like I don't understand what was taught, I go back to Saunders or I go back to the video and watch it all over again. I watched that video a couple of times for me to even understand it. And another thing that helped me too was I jot down. I write a lot, because one thing I believe is whatever you write down, even if you forget it, when you scan through it, you can remember. So as I'm learning, I am writing. Each system I am writing. I have endocrine, I have cardiovascular. And when I'm done with, for instance, cardiovascular, I'll go back to Saunders and read it. It was towards like 3 months to 4 months, 5 months to my exam that I was introduced to HR. So I was always doing 85 questions daily. That is beside what I do with EduLogics, because I started with them since February. So I must do 85 questions daily. So I start at night so that before the end of the day, I should have been able to answer my question and go through the rationale. Now, I won't tell you that every day I was able to finish 85. There were some days I wasn't able to finish 85, but it will count as gain because I have started it. I wasn't able to finish it. Maybe I went for school run or I went to the hospital or whatever, but I must attempt question every day. That is notwithstanding the activity that HIMA posts for the week. And I will still attend class. Even when I'm in class, sometimes I'll be in class, I'm busy, I'm cooking. I have my earpiece on, I'll be listening. Once they mention my name, sometimes our tutor, Olive, will call me. It will take like few seconds for me to run back because I'm busy. I'll read my question. I'll see if I can answer it and I'll attempt it. When we are done with it, I still listen to recording. NCLEX is a jealous exam. It needs time. If you can give it time, it is doable. I gave my own the little I can because I didn't have much time. Taking care of 2 kids alone in the house is not funny. Sometimes during the class, you even hear their voice. Even coordinator Jason has even cautioned me that I should try and keep my kids silent. It wasn't easy for me. Some days like this, I would just end up crying because it was stressful for me. But I thank God that the little effort I put in, because to me it's little because God was the one that helped me through it, it's paid off at the end of the day. Then some of the questions I encountered during my exam was I got questions on Alzheimer's disease. I got questions on DKA. I got questions on psychiatric drugs. I got few drugs actually. I didn't get any question on calculation. Then I got so many SATA and prioritization. And I was able to scale through. I stressed myself to the point that I didn't find my exam difficult, to be honest, because I stressed myself to get it. I extended my exam twice. I was supposed to write in November. Then I canceled November because I wasn't ready. But December, something beyond my control happened. I extended to January. And by first week of January, I was convinced that I think I'm ready for this exam. And I did all my mock, to be precise. I did all my mock and I still revised. And thank God for today that I've conquered. That's my little story.
Yeah, Uzoma, like it feels so surreal because I have spoken to your husband many times, Destiny. Very nice guy. And I think he needs to get a credit for your success as well, because I remember when we started speaking to each other last year, he was also very worried how it's going to happen. And when your documents came to me, because I helped them with the APRA assessment, I also was very, because Nigerian qualification is not a very common qualification that we deal. So I was also very worried that, I hope everything goes as per her, because she had done midwifery and then nursing, and, many things were there. And so honestly, I'm very proud to hear that you have passed NCLEX with such an amazing effort and with kids. Yes, initially though it was very difficult. Sometimes we have to inform the candidate, okay, can you please try and save the kid? I have 2 kids at my home, and I can tell you, I have a little one like you, Uzoma, 7 months exactly to be precise. I have left my little one in my neighbor's house so that I can be here at peace.
Yeah.
I can imagine, it is very stressful. It is not easy. But whenever a student talks to me and says it's difficult, I always say, see, you have hundreds of nurses who have done this. And so, you always, you sometimes feel alone. But then honestly, you're not alone. Many people have done it. You also can do it. And we are very proud of you, Uzoma.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Yeah, and I think she has covered a lot of things, I would say, but are there any exam day strategies that you would like to share, Uzoma, your experience of exam, just, in a quick manner?
Okay. On the day of the exam, I ensured that I rested before that day, because I found out that when I'm stressed, I don't think very well. So I ensured that I rested and I woke up very early, because my exam was for 8 a.m. So on getting to the exam hall, we're checked in. I tried to be calm. Then I read my question more than once. First of all, I go back to the main question. For instance, they say, what requires follow-up, or select all that apply. Then I'll go back to the body of the question, so that I don't miss anything out of it. Because sometimes you might see you have to answer in a negative form, then your mind will tell you it's positive form, and you click the wrong thing. So I ensure that I read what the question is about first before I go back to the body, and I read it more than once. Even when I clicked my answer, I will still go back and read it, because it's just 1 mark I'm looking for. If I can get the 1 mark, it's progress for me. If I don't get it, it will affect my total score much later. Then while I was still in the exam hall, some persons finished before me. I wasn't bothered. My system shut down at 85, but I spent close to 3 hours plus for just 85 questions, because I was like, I will get this thing and get it right. I wasn't bothered about the persons that finished before me. I was just with my system and minding my system. And when the system shut down at 85, I didn't even know it had shut down. I was like, if it was something I touched or so, and they said, I'm done. I did the survey test and I left. So for me, I read the actual question before the body of the question. So that way I will be able to get what the question is about. And I was not in haste. Yes, they said you can spend up to 2 minutes in each question, but I spent more than 2 minutes in some. Yes, some are quite easier than the others. Some you have to think to understand what the question is about. And I made sure that I understood my question before I answer it. So it depends on how critical the question is. That depends on how much I spent in a particular question.
And that's a really good tip as well. Thank you so much, Uzoma, for sharing that. And Uzoma, just to quickly, I heard that you have done 4 mock exams. You have done the feedback as well. Were the feedback sessions useful for you? Did you feel that it was useful to discuss your progress with the trainer?
Sorry, I didn't get that, please.
You mentioned that you did all the 5 mock exams.
Yes.
And then I'm assuming that you did feedback sessions as well with the
yes,
trainer.
Yes, I
did. Yeah. So were those useful for you?
Yes, it was. My first mock was okay. Second, no, wasn't. I had one below passing standard. Then the second one was okay. Then the third was not so okay. But Madam Olive always tell you that it doesn't matter, that my scores are okay, even if some are below, but I just have to work on those weaknesses, and which I did. For instance, my weakness in one of my mock, I noticed that I made a mistake in this procedural stuff, like maybe ileostomy, how to care for ileostomy or tracheostomy, things like. So I would just go back and read, and she wasn't even judgmental. She'll calmly tell you, and if you tell her what your problem is, she'll send you videos to back you up for you to watch and remember, refresh your memory, or even know the things you don't know again. So the feedback was helpful for me because it still helped me to boost my morale that I'm doing well. So the feedback was actually very helpful.
Yeah, that's good. And Hema also mentioned that you did all the quizzes. As far as I know, you attended all the classes. So kudos to you, Uzoma, once again with two
Thank
kids. Please, tell Destiny our wishes and congratulations, because he has played a big role in your life.
Yes.
And you have a bit of journey more ahead. But I always tell everybody, NCLEX is more difficult to pass than OSCE, because OSCE you can learn if you practice well. But NCLEX is such a vast subject, vast curriculum, that it is quite difficult, to learn everything and to comprehend everything. I think that's the questions that I had. I think there's one question from Jaspreet. So Jaspreet, for your question that how many questions need to be corrected to pass NCLEX, it varies because you have different domains. If you have attended the orientation session on your LMS, you will see that you have different domains, and you need to have above 50% marks, above 50% scores in each of the domain to be passed in each of the standard. Okay, let's say you have passed almost all your standards. Let's say two of your domains you have not, you are near the passing standard or below, then also your whole exam will be failed. Okay, so which basically tells us that you need not be an expert in every domain, but you should have at least minimum 50% of understanding, above 50% of understanding in each of the domain. That's but if you want more information about it, feel free to reach out to Hema or our other trainers. If anybody, I think, don't have any other questions, then I will leave the busy mom Uzoma to the kids. I'm sure they're waiting for you. And we'll be in touch, Uzoma, and we'll keep you in our prayers and keep us updated about your progress. And hopefully by mid of this year, you should be able to pass your OSCE and come back and tell us about your OSCE exam.
Okay, I will. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Uzoma.
Bye.